Does New York really have the best style of pizza? Well, according to our poll, the answer would be a resounding yes. So we decided to fly to Detroit, then Chicago, and then, of course, New York to try that ooey gooey cheesy goodness. And we decided to try one of the most popular, one of the best sellers, and the new kid on the block to see how good the New York slice really is.
We have got our first taste of New York pizza right here.
Yes. So what did we get?
We got cheese and tomato. We went purist.
Yes.
And I've always seen people fold it.
There's no folding in that, is there? I don't
That
think.
crust is very crispy, but the bottom of it is completely dry.
Nice. I'll take that off your hands. That was, to be fair, that was straight fresh out of the oven as well, wasn't it? So, but that feels really soft.
That tastes delicious. Yeah.
Wow.
That tomato sauce tastes. Wow.
That tomato is really sweet.
It is
and
sweet.
Garlicky, even.
Yeah, it feels like it's got a few herbs in there. But how do you get the base?
I don't
so
know.
it's not greasy. There is not an ounce of grease on that. Wow. This.
It's like paper thin, isn't it, as well?
Perfect snack food.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, I agree. I mean, there's a little bit of grease in there, but that's just the cheese, isn't it, coming through?
And that cheese is not, it's just there, isn't it? It's tasty, but I think the star of the show is the tomato. Because that's what I'm tasting.
Yeah. But what's that crust like?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going in though.
Because you're a big fan of the crust,
I
aren't
am. I really like the crust.
And it's got quite a char to it, hasn't it? Some of the parts of it came out were obviously really charred inside, but
crispy, crunchy. It's got some salt in there too. Salty, deliciousness. Now, we have tried our first slice of New York pizza. We have to go to other places.
yeah, because we've set a base
Yeah.
where we need to be.
Yeah.
So now we know what it can taste like.
Yeah.
But is this what it should taste like?
Well, we're going to find out. Because Joe's is one of the oldest pizza places in town and one of the most famous.
Because this was actually in the Superman.
As they say, Spider-Man.
Spider-Man.
The Spider-Man.
He's in Spider-Man.
Order Hamilton, Burton and Smith 8 extra large deep dish pizzas.
Wasn't Superman, wrong S.
Wrong guess, yes.
It was. So, we're going to finish this and catch us at our next spot.
Yes. Let's see what that one's like.
Yeah, can't wait. At Scarr's Pizza.
So this place is pretty famous all over the interweb, isn't it?
It really is. And we just got a cheese and tomato, didn't we?
This is a giant slice, isn't it?
It is a giant. Do you know what I really love?
What?
How they give you 2 plates.
Yeah, yeah.
Love that.
Instead of designing a plate that's big enough for both, they use 2 plates.
And this one folds. Look at that fold.
Look at the base of it as well. Look
And
at the
can we talk
chart.
about? Look at the size.
That is nearly as big as my head.
It's huge. Anyway, it seems to fold really well, and
Yeah.
you know, it looks like you
It's
could.
holding under its own weight.
It
isn't
is, and the bottom of it. Look at the colour of the bottom of it.
So it's quite interesting. You can sit inside this place, and there was no queue whatsoever. There's nothing at the tables, but the line to just get a slice was amazingly long, wasn't it?
That sauce is so delicate, isn't it? It's so light, and the cheese on top is perfect.
Yes.
It's not a massively cheesy taste to it, but it's creamy and salty.
And the tomato sauce isn't bitter or anything, is it?
No, it's sweet
Yeah.
and delicate, just like me. Nobody said I was ever delicate. And then the base of it is chewy, but crispy.
Yeah, so the pizzas are all kind of ready in slices, aren't they? And then they just throw them back in the oven to whichever one you decide to choose. But
You know what amazes me?
what's that?
That there's no grease. It's completely dry on the underside.
Yeah, let me try.
Oh, it's so good. And you can fold it. Apparently,
Yes.
that's what you should be able to do with a New York slice. You should be able to fold it. It's meant to be a food that you can walk and eat. That is really good.
And all kinds of goodness.
It is good.
I can't get over how thin this pizza is, yet it holds its own body weight, basically, doesn't it?
And nothing was dribbling off. I mean,
No.
there's not much left. Nothing was dribbling off there, was it? It wasn't
No.
kind of sliding
No.
down the pizza.
And there's now a lot of grease on the top. Sometimes you get like a pool of grease from the cheese or the sauce.
So I'm thinking if we'd had pepperoni, there might have been like a pool
That's a good
of grease,
point.
and it
well
might have been a bit more difficult to eat.
made. That's a good
But
point. Well done. Great point.
We're staying purists with the cheese and tomato, aren't we?
We are indeed.
So let's go to our next location,
Yes.
and we'll meet you there. We're just going to finish this.
Yes.
We are at our next stop,
We are indeed.
which was Merstwo,
Yes.
and we had a slight debacle
We did.
with this.
We were trying to say as consistent as possible with all of the same pizza.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I
They
asked
didn't
for
have
a
one.
cheese,
yes.
and they said they didn't have it, which they made sound like they just didn't make them.
Yes.
And we didn't realise till afterwards that they were just out. So
Yes.
this does have pepperoni on it, but it's a lot smaller
Yes, and the last one, it is.
and twice the price. But we're going to go through the price at the very end,
Still nearly as big as my head though.
but not quite as big because you've got bigger. Ah. Okay, so you know we were talking about the grease,
Yes.
and we're like, oh, it doesn't come off. Well, let's see.
Can't see
It's
that.
not really.
There you
It's
go.
not really dripping off. But it's not on a double plate, is it?
No, let me hold that plate for you. There you go. Now this looks like it's got fresh parmesan grated on top of it, and then I saw them, they were actually spraying it with some kind of oil before they gave it to us.
Oregano, I think,
And
or basil. Basil. Oh
And
wow!
it kind of folds reasonably well, and the bottom of it is nicely crusted.
The base on that is chewy and crisp. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. I forgive you for not having just cheese.
That one
Yeah.
is good.
It's so light,
Mm.
isn't it? And the base is quite well toasted again. Doesn't taste burnt.
No.
And I think it's like a coal. I think the coal fires is why it gives it that colour.
This has got a lot more taste to it because the herbs and the cheese on the top really add to it, don't
Yeah. And that crust has got salt in it. It's crispy and chewy. It is just a explosion in your mouth of heavenly, epic
they? That
proportions.
is really good, isn't it?
Have I given you any more descriptive words?
No.
It's absolutely delightful. Oh, that's really good. The cheese, the tomato, you can barely taste the tomato. Can you? I'm going to take the pepperoni off.
Actually, you're right. I didn't realise there isn't much of a strong tomato taste, and it doesn't actually look like there's
You
any.
taste it on its own.
Mm.
It is, again, it's light and herby. It's not heavy tomato. It barely has a tomato taste.
I was going to
to
say it doesn't appear to a taste of any tomato really.
And the cheese on it is salty, isn't it? Like a salty mozzarella. It just complements. It's like perfectly balanced.
That is
Delicious.
outstanding.
Okay, I think we should go to our next place
Yes.
and we'll meet you all there.
Yes.
Okay. And now we have Lustry. L'Industrie.
You we
Now,
do indeed.
apparently the chef that makes these is actually from Italy.
Really?
Yes. Now it's not as big as some that we've had.
No, in fact, that's almost the smallest one, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it looks a lot more tomatoey than the rest, doesn't it?
does. And this is a margarita,
Yes.
and it does have basil on there,
Yes.
and it has some grated parmesan.
And there was a little bit of a wait for this one, but it did seem to go quite quickly, the line, didn't it? And you get to watch them actually make it there and then, so that holds its own straight away. And the bottom is probably the most brown that we've seen.
It's crispy, again, and chewy, and that is
wow.
that tastes really good. Excuse me. Even though it's tomatoey, it's not in a bad way. It's, all the ones we've had here in New York have been sweet tomato.
And if you looked at the tins of tomato that are in there, they say they're fancy tomato.
And this place is really salty, actually.
Yeah.
Crunchy and chewy. I'm not tasting any of that basil though.
No. Very light, isn't it?
Oh, that's delicious. Actually, I've got a mouthful of basil. That is lovely. All of it together,
I could see myself comfortably eating 4 or 5 slices of that without
Yeah.
any trouble. It's really that light, isn't
really
it?
light and crispy. This is delicious. I mean, we've already almost finished it with those few bites that we've had, haven't we? This pizza, I can't get over how they stay so dry.
Yes, yeah.
Because look at the front, look at the glisten on that. And then that, completely dry.
Yes.
Keep your hands,
Let
you've
me
got a
try
napkin,
the crust.
and I don't even need it. That crust is delicious. Listen to that crunch. That's really good, isn't it? Light, dreamy, airy. So, we now need to finish this, not there's much left to finish,
No.
and give you our conclusions on New York pizza
Yeah.
and which one will be crowned our winner.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll be right back. So we're back, Central Park. We've walked a lot to walk off a little bit
We
of that pizza.
came into Central Park and this is amazing.
It is, and we thought we would give you our findings and tell
Yes.
you which one we liked the most.
Yes.
So we started with
Go!
Joe's Pizza, famous
Which is
Spider-Man.
Yes.
Pizza.
Which is arguably the most famous one that we tried.
Yeah,
And I have to admit, I was a little disappointed.
it was not the best, I don't think, but it was a
No.
good gauge because everybody said that that was meant to be a really good pizza. So from
Yes.
there, I think we could only improve. I found that the sauce, everything just seemed to be lacking.
Yes. Now, it was really fresh. It had just literally come out of the oven, hadn't it?
Yeah.
So I suppose there's an argument that it might have been a little more moist or something. I don't know.
But it should be better if it's just come out of the oven
You would think
because
so.
it's the freshest it could
Yes. But the crust was crispy.
be, but
the,
not chewy.
yeah, but the base was just really floppy and you couldn't fold it and hold it. It was just,
And there was no
Anyway.
taste in that. But it was not bad for a $3.50 slice.
exactly.
Or if that was the price. We'll put it up here if I'm wrong.
Yes.
But it wasn't bad. I mean, it was good, wasn't it? It was okay. It wasn't like, it was like, oh my goodness, I can't eat this. It was very edible. It was just not
Yeah.
the best. And then we moved on to Lustry,
Yes.
which was shockingly busy.
Yes, it was. There was a line, quite a long line for that place.
And the slice was a little smaller.
It was the
Wasn't it?
smallest one of the day, I think.
It was.
So it's kind of middle of the road of the pizzas that we tried.
Yeah.
I like the taste of it. It was more tomato heavy, I think, than the rest of them, wasn't it?
It was, but what I've noticed here is the tomato is really sweet.
Yeah.
It's a very sweet, delicate flavour to it.
It was actually called fancy tomato.
It was very fancy.
That's what it said.
It
on
was
the tin.
rather fancy. And those tomatoes were just perfect, weren't
Yes,
they?
yeah,
It was, and the let's talk about that crust though, that crispy base.
Yeah, that was good.
It
That
was, and I think it was in a coal fire.
Yes.
Gave it that colour underneath, but it was really good.
The good thing about that place is you were able to see them physically making them in front of you. They were
Yeah.
tossing the dough and stretching it and all of that kind of stuff. So
And
the bit of theatre added to it was good.
And it was so incredibly busy that you know you're getting a fresh slice there.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
it was so busy.
Yeah.
And that crust, it was salty,
Mm.
but it was also crispy and chewy.
Yeah, and then we went on to Scarr's Pizza.
Yeah, which we've heard lots of people talk about.
Yes, yeah, that seems to have been quite hyped up, doesn't it, on the internet? So
And that slice was massive.
that
was the biggest slice
I would
of
say
the
that was
day.
the biggest of the day, yeah.
And again, it was foldable.
Yeah,
Gave us that New York fold.
and it was pretty budget friendly.
Yes, it was. And the dough was tasty as well.
Yeah.
And the cost of it was really quite good, wasn't it?
It wasn't bad, yeah.
It wasn't quite as busy as Lustry, but there was a little bit of a
Yes,
wait
there
there,
was a
wasn't
line.
there? And I think, again, the sauce was delicate. So what I'm noticing here is that the tomato is a delicate, sweet flavoured tomato.
Yeah,
Almost doesn't taste like tomato.
yeah. And because they're so thin, there's no real chew to it, is there?
No.
It's pretty good.
It was delicious. And the
Mm.
cheese, just as a compliment, is just perfectly balanced.
But not my favourite.
Not my favourite either. And then we went to Merstwo.
Yes.
Now this one was a little bit of a nightmare.
Yes.
In that I went to order it, got a bit of stage fright, said I'd like a cheese pizza please, and they said we haven't got any. So I thought we didn't do it.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I see a slice of pepperoni with cheese. Let's go for that.
In your defence, if you looked at the pizzas that were on the stand ready to go, there were some really fancy looking ones, like square ones and like,
More like Detroit
yeah,
style.
yeah, kind of thick, square, rectangular.
Or Sicilian style.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, thank you for defending me.
I am just defending your honour.
Thanks for that. But that, I think, when we did get that pepperoni slice, which did cost a lot more,
Yes, it was the most expensive of the day.
it was, and it did have pepperoni, so we are taking that into
by a
account.
bit as well.
It was.
Yeah.
However, if we were to judge it just on the tomato, the cheese, and the crust,
Yeah.
wow,
Yes.
that pizza
Yes.
tasted incredible.
It was definitely my favourite of the day.
The dough was fantastic.
Yeah.
It was seasoned. It was, I can't even describe it, it was crispy, but it was chewy, almost bread-like chewy. but not bready.
Yeah, and it was like the perfect amount of char on the bottom.
Yeah.
The fold of it was great. You were not worrying about it dripping all over you.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that was just the best one we had today.
And that's where we leave you. Watch this next video.